Well, glad to have you back, and it's still good morning, Anambra. If you're just joining us, that's the program this morning, and it's about time what we talk about another thing, burning issue affecting the country, especially, and of course the citizenry in this country. I'm talking about a high cost of elections in Nigeria. You agree with me that the 2019 elections has come and gone, and now it's the reactions, matters are rising, and one of them is a high cost of elections in Nigeria. And this morning we have in the house a guest who's going to be helping us out analyze this topic. I'm talking about Professor Dennis Zaribodo, Professor of Public Health and also an activist. Good to have you on the program.
Good morning, and good morning, viewer.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Younger.
The weather makes it so. The weather is so hot, so one has to adapt to the weather.
Okay, so that's just the secret, the weather.
You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
All right, good to have you around. High cost of elections in Nigeria. Well, we know that the ever spiraling cost of conducting free, fair, peaceful, and credible elections here in Nigeria that will be acceptable to all stakeholders should be a deep concern to well-meaning citizens. Now, I'm going to read this out for you to hear. According to INEC has spent 112.9 billion for elections back in 2011. 73.5 million voters, that's what they spent in 2011, and 108.8 billion in 2015 for 68.8 million voters, but has risen to 242 billion naira for 84 million voters in the just concluded elections. Looking at all this, we're not, counting what the political candidates actually paid for forms. And what have you? Where do we go from here, Professor? This is really, really worrisome.
It is not only worrisome, it is also tragic, because the money that should go to other sectors of the economy, like health, education, sanitation, is periodically spent on elections, preparing for elections. But the problem is with us as a country, because we live in a country where there is no trust. Even to produce the materials that we use for election, we produce it outside this country. And once we put aside the country, the cost will go higher. And because our politicians have not grown to the extent of seeing politics as a call to service, for them it is a call to make money. So they make it difficult for INEC to live up to expectation. The problem is with the politicians. I say so because when the politicians grow, they will not enact the laws that make it easy for election not to be costly in this country. Not the type of law that they tried to make 1 year to the time of election. We are entering a new republic on May 29 this year. Any amendment to the electoral law of this country should start from day one, so that midway into the election year, that is by the next 2 years, everything must have been set.
Do you think we keep amending laws? We keep amending because there's a campaign spending limit, set by the law. Where it says presidential election 5 billion naira, governorship election 1 billion naira, senatorial and House of Reps 500 million and 250 million respectively. Then coming down to the Senate, to the State Assembly, they say 50 million, local government 30 million. So as it goes down, the money comes down. Do you really think this is worth it? Having set this limit, we keep amending every time. Does it mean that this is not working?
The amendment is not particularly about the benchmark for spending. That's what I'm referring to. Okay. The amendment I'm talking about is the electoral law as a whole, whereby party politics, what goes on in party, can be checked and streamlined in such a way that the party belongs to the people and not to one or two individuals. You said, assuming I want to contest local government chairman, I don't know how much you call there.
Is it 30 million?
I'm a professor in university. I take home less than 450,000 naira in a month. How can I save 30 million naira to run an election?
That's the question.
So the problem there, right, that's why I say is that the political class is the problem. Because they don't want to liberalize the political space. President Buhari bought APC fund for more than 10 million, I think around 14 million naira. Those that bought for PDP bought around 10 million for presidential. In a country where the minimum wage is still 18,000 naira. So how can the political space be open so that people who want to serve can go there? And this problem cannot be solved, though. It can only be solved by all of us sitting down here, agitating for it, putting pressure, mobilizing, using various forms. That is when we can solve that problem. And part of solution to the problem is to ensure that the emolument, I don't want to say salary, of an average politician is not above the emolument of an average civil servant, the highest paid civil servant in this country.
And actually, that was what we were discussing here. I said that if actually it is service they are rendering, at the end of each person's tenure, the person will begin to pack his bags and be thanking God for a job well done and be going back to his home to do other things. But that just by the way. Now, this list I've called out now, and the government is said sometime they sign into law, not too young to run bill and stuff like that. And just like you have said that as a professor at that, I cannot save, is it, okay, you said 50 million naira for local government chairman.
Yes, even for
and
5 years.
I wonder what a youth to do to get councillorship at 50 million naira. So what's your take about this, all this money, is it reasonable enough to set this limit for money needed for election in the country?
I think there are viable democracies Nigeria can borrow from. And it should start from the parties. In South Africa, ANC party is like a mass movement.
All right, okay, so it has gone.
And when we make political parties mass movement and the ideological based, the members of the political party will on their own fund that political party and determine what are the type of quality of individuals we need to go for election. In Nigeria, who fund political parties? Everything depends on government. The more you steal, the more you fund. So where we are going to start from is now that we are going to have a new legislation at the national level and at the state levels, the effort should begin from day one to make our elections not to be very costly. First of all, you make that office less attractive. Any political office should not be as attractive as it is today. That is where we should begin. When people know that if they go there, they become poorer than they would have been in their private business, they will start considering for those who are not ready to serve. Then when we do that, we return political parties to the people. If it is 1 naira, 2 naira paying every month, it becomes their party. But we have a situation today whereby political parties, we have 1 or 2 or 3 political parties, and there are about 70 others or 80 others that other big ones registered to use as a yardstick.
Okay, now, it baffles me to know that we make room for individual sponsorship of political parties. And at the end of the day, we still talk about godfatherism or people trying to recover their funds when they've gone or when they've won elections. Now, the law made a provision of 10 million naira limit for individual or organizations that sponsor political parties. What's your take on this?
I think we are saying the same thing, that because if one is going there to actually give service, and the economy we are running today, you see, we have monetized everything. Everything about power has been monetized. Otherwise, every citizen of Nigeria knows who their leader should be, even from the village level. But because they have made it in such a way that the good can never rise. It's like a closed system. We are lucky it appears that closed system is being attacked by themselves now. Because in the past, nobody cares whether you come out to vote or not. But today, they're trying to buy vote. So gradually, maybe in the next 10 to 15 years from today, we must start getting to where we think we should be.
How visible is that? I was surfing the paper last week, and FIFA, not like I'm actually trying to go from the topic, but FIFA says Nigeria would be eligible to host World Cup in 2086. You're saying 10 or 15 years from now, we get into a play. But my question is now, some people are of the opinion that the high cost of election is what has caused the faulty foundation in which corruption thrives in Nigeria. What's your take on that? Do you agree with that?
They are perfect because you need to amass sufficient wealth. Let me give an example. Election is coming. Politicians are busy storing money to do what? Not just by the literate, by the collation officers. As a collation officer, you shouldn't take more than 81,000 naira after doing your work. We see politicians giving collation officers as much as 500,000, 800,000. Where is money coming from? Millions. Thousands, and give it to everybody there. So these are the problems we are having in the field.
All right.
Because what they're going there to do is not going there to do service.
Prior to this just concluded general elections in the country, INEC, according to the Punch newspapers of December 4, 2018, they promised to monitor party finances with tracking devices. That was what they said. My question is, are they responsible for that? If yes, do you think they really lived up to their promises?
You see, one thing is to set a target. It's like a budget. Another thing is to actualize that. It is good that INEC has, in its own wisdom, called this a problem. Whether they achieve it or not is a secondary issue. But gradually, because ours is a system whereby any good initiative is attacked by the political class. That is where we are operating. And that's why I say that the problem we have is with the political class. Whatever that INEC has proposed that is good, they find a way to circumvent it. Look at the card reader. They said no card reader, no vote. You see people now beating INEC officials just to ensure the card reader does not work or they cancel election in that area. So whatever good they bring, because the Nigerian position is not yet ready to accept that leadership is about service. That is why any good initiative is attacked. Those milestones set by INEC to monitor, and sometimes you also wonder whether INEC has the capacity to do all these things, the way they are structured now.
All right, let's see this here before we go. Hello? Oh, we lost that.
All right, well, we're going for a short break now, and when we return, of course, we will continue with the high cost of elections in Nigeria. I'm going to be right back.
Inner strength? Yeah, that comes from the hard knocks that life throws at us. And we Nigerians, we know all about that. You don't stay down, you get up and fight. Sure, it's about speed, technique, quality of the punches, reach. But the real fight is with myself.
It's the power, but it's the speed as well.
But I can't carry this heavyweight title by myself. There's always got to be someone in my corner. And that's why I believe in Glow. We have that same tenacity, that Nigerian fighting spirit that makes us game changers. You have to dig deep to be a world champion. But yeah, we Nigerians, yeah, we know all about that.
What a fight!
Glow, our halo.
Heavyweight champion of the world!
Well, glad to have you back. We're still talking about the high cost of elections in Nigeria. We're still analyzing. INEC, of course, has come out recently to say that they're going to probe the spendings of political parties. Now, you said something that is one thing to set a budget, it's another thing to actualize it. Now, INEC going to carry out this activity of probing political spenders in this past election. How sincerely do you think that act, and you think it's actually going to yield something positive that's probably going to lead to we cutting cost when it comes to elections in Nigeria?
I don't know what aspect of the spending INEC is going to track. Is it the one in the open or the one not in the open? Because as I told you, as election is on the eve of election, the political parties and the politicians and the contestants move about trying to know who is going to be the coalition officer in this world, in this, so as to attempt to compromise them. I use the word attempt. Is it that particular money that going to attract, or is it the money they use for poster, or is it the money they use for billboard, or for communication, or the rest of them? But as I said, it is a good thing that even that thought has come up, because it is going to put some shake, whether you like it or not. Whether that achieve, let's say that the target is 100%. If INEC is able to achieve 20, 30, 40% this year, gradually they're moving. These things cannot just overnight. You achieve 100%, because a lot of things has to come in. We cannot rise above our level of development now. People are still very hungry, and that is why the politicians capitalize on that hunger to do what they're doing. Our level of education is still very poor. Not many people access education. There's so much trouble. So if government, both federal and state, will rise up to their duties and ensure that that those things they use to confuse electorates are no longer there, people will start rising up, and things will start changing gradually.
All right, now we agree that there is high cost of election in Nigeria, and it's kind of alarming, so to speak. My question is, what do you think are the implications of this high cost of elections, especially when the government is asking the younger generations to rise to the challenge of going into electioneering?
Well, the greatest implication is that the best will not emerge. The best individual, not just candidate for now. Because like what happened in Imo State with one political party, they were saying, this what I heard, whether it's true or false, I don't know, was that they were saying, how much do you have to prosecute this election? And it appears that the person that said he has the highest amount of money was the person they gave the ticket to run for the governorship of that state. How would that bring out the best for the people in that state? So the greatest losers in this situation are the people. Because those who have the interest of the people at heart to deliver them, to help them, to relieve them, cannot dream to get that office. So that is the greatest disservice. Apart from the fact that the political class who finds his way to the corridor of power or to position of power will do everything possible to make it difficult for another person to come up. And that will also increase the level of corruption, both overt and covert, so as to pack enough money for future battle. Because for them, it's a battle.
Reports making the round has had it that the cost that has been spent on this past election is approximately 1.something trillion naira. Now, my question is
for all the parties of one party?
I think generally for the whole elections.
Okay, including government and parties.
Yes, 1.something trillion naira. Now, the president, that's the chairman of INEC, has said that what is responsible for this high cost of elections is partly due to security and logistical reasons. Now, if you look at the money being spent and you ask yourself, during elections in Nigeria, we know how people die. People are being killed, people are being maimed, properties are destroyed here and there. How do you relate it with the chairman saying it is for security and logistical reasons with such huge amount of money? Where is it going to if at the end of the day the security plan or the goal is not achieved?
You see, this is we are in a very difficult situation. Even the security the budget is going to, is there actually security on voting areas, voting points, polling units, collation? Because those security men there are not armed. And that is why you saw, I think, a senior police officer, either AIG or DIG, was attacked in Port Harcourt, and nothing happened. So, but as I said, where we should begin is to keep on spending our money where we should change the attitude and character of our people, and even train them. Not doing these reactionary things, because the security is not all about money. It's more of intelligence, more of education, more of information. Because if the people know that they are the security of the environment, every community knows what is going on in that community.
But we cannot run away from the fact that this is really worrisome, and we cannot continue to spend this huge amount of money to elect politicians into office to lead the people who you're probably leading that can't even afford to eat. Because it's when you get to hear the amount that was gulped in this whole election, 1.something trillion naira. If this money was used to develop the country, I mean, you know where we're supposed to be. You know, at least we'll get to achieve a particular. So where do we go from here? What do we have to do? Is there something that could be done to probably reduce this cost to the barest minimum? And you know, when people go, when it's electioneering period, okay, look at, for instance, Ghana. When they actually had the election, it was quiet, calm, and they don't even have to go through all this, you know, hustles and hustles. So is there anything we can do to get it right?
We can do a lot to get it right, but the first thing we should do is to tell ourselves the truth. Because even our law is a lie. The law we operate in is a lie. It didn't emanate from the people. That is where we should start. And gradually start working on the young ones who are coming up. Unfortunately for us, it appears it will be worse with time.
Do you see the possibility? Because we are
saying the same thing. We are saying the same thing, but we shouldn't surrender to defeat. We shouldn't surrender to defeat. The problem lies with our leaders. And when I talk about leader, I don't just mean the governor or the president. They have the list of powers. They have the list of powers. The power is with the legislation, but these legislators are not doing enough to use that power. They just have the power to impeach governor that is not doing well, impeach president that is not doing well, ensure that money is budgeted properly. That is where we should go and focus. Every civil society organization, every activist, every organization that wants to should target legislation and hold them to account.
And you probably think that vote buying, you know, something could be done about it?
All these things can be overcome with time.
With time?
Yes, because in the past, I told you, vote doesn't count. But because vote has started counting, that's vote buying. We're moving on gradually.
All right, let's keep hope alive. Let's keep hope alive.
All right, well, you actually heard it from the man himself. High cost of elections in Nigeria. What are we doing? How can we actually make this something that when elections are on, or when it's time for elections in the country, we get to spend less and, of course, achieve more. That's the way forward. Now, the much we have for you on the program today, and I want to say a very big thank you to Professor Dennis Everybody, Professor of Public Health, and also an activist. Many thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Now, this is it, and we'll be moving. By 9 o'clock, of course, will be time for the morning news. Sports Today will be coming your way at 15 minutes past 9. And this is it on Good Morning Anambra. I'm Berry Ugunna.
My name is Nonya Mokoye. Thanks for your time.